I found my cat the other day playing with this feathery toy, and I looked at it and thought this would make a really interesting subject for a boomerang. Now, Boomerang, if you haven't used it, it's a free app that creates these animations from a burst of still images, and that, for me, would be able to turn this inanimate feather toy into something more like a living, breathing, exotic caterpillar that you might find in a rainforest. So, let's give it a go. Right, I need a few things to make this shot work. First of all is a pile of books, so let's bring that in here. So the reason I need this is because when we've got the Boomerang app open, we want the camera to be as stable as possible, but it also needs to be a set height away from the subject, because it just crops the frame a little bit. It's like it's zooming in. So here we go. The Boomerang's going to work best if the camera is stable, and hand-holding that just isn't going to work. So here, I've got my subject in the middle of the frame, not got anything that I can see anyway elsewhere in the frame, and I've got a nice, stable kind of overhead tripod. I still need to hold on quite carefully to make sure that the phone doesn't drop. But that looks pretty good to me. One thing about Boomerang is that it lets me turn on the camera flash to add a little bit of extra light. So let's try that now and see what difference it makes. A little bit of difference. What I'm hoping is that when we introduce some air to bring the movement to this insect, that the camera flash will just introduce a little bit of highlights and, you know, make it a little bit more lifelike. Okay, I think I'm almost ready to shoot. Now, the shutter button with Boomerang, you can just press it and it'll take a few exposures, maybe a second or so's worth, or you can keep your finger on it to create a little bit more life. Boomerang does kind of reverse the image, a bit like a boomerang, it comes back to you, but that shouldn't be too obvious with this. So, I'm going to keep my finger on that shutter for a bit longer. I am going to use this card just to waft. Now, I'm using this a little bit away, about 30, 60 centimetres away, because if I get too close, then I might introduce some shadows into the shot that just going to, you know, get in the way and make it not as clean as it might otherwise be. So, with all of that, I think we're ready. So, 3, 2, 1, waft, and shoot. There we go. Okay, so it shows me a replay straight away. A couple of things. First of all, you see how the images come across in a kind of landscape, a horizontal fashion. I don't want that. I want it to be vertical, like a portrait. I will have to edit that later on because the app doesn't seem to let me do that. The other thing that I see is that even though I didn't see it on the live preview, I can just see the bottom of one of the books. So I'm just going to lean out a little bit more with this top book, just to frame out that bottom book. So let's try that again. Apart from that, though, that wasn't a bad first attempt. Okay, so just being a little bit braver to lean out. There we go. So holding onto this phone very carefully. In 3, 2, 1. There we are. And it doesn't need a lot of movement. That I'm much happier with. There's nothing else in the frame there. It just looks as though this caterpillar is breathing in the breeze. So I'm going to tap on save. Yeah, we like that. I'm just going to try one more time without the flash, just to see if I prefer how that looks. Otherwise, it's the same setup. So one more time. 3, 2, 1. Waft. Oh, a little bit too much wafting there. Got to be careful. Caterpillar's had enough of this photo shoot. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Gentle waft and shoot. There we are. I just brought the book back in again. My fault. Okay. A little bit fiddly, as these things are. Always a bit of trial and error, but I think it's worth it. 3, 2, 1. Almost, right. Let's take a look. There we go. I can just about make that work. So let's tap on save there. So if I go into the gallery now in Boomerang. I can see some that I've been taking just now. As I said, unfortunately, Boomerang doesn't let me edit the image in any meaningful way, particularly to flip it 90 degrees so that it's in a vertical mode rather than in a horizontal mode. So what I'm going to do is just tap that one there that I rather like. I'm going to save it to Photos. Save it to Google Photos. And that's just going to upload to the cloud now. And what Google Photos will let me do is to edit that. So, open up Google Photos. So there we go. There is our living, breathing caterpillar. Let's have a quick review. That was one that I quite liked, but I can just see the bottom, that blue book in the corner of the frame. So let's see if there's a better one. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay. So, as we said, Boomerang, because it can't tell which way up the camera is when we were shooting kind of top down, it's assumed that we wanted this in a landscape mode, which we don't really want. So, Google Photos, what it lets us do is to edit this. So, let's tap on the screen. You can see what looks like some dials at the bottom of the screen. This is the settings part of the app. So I just tap on that, and that's opened up a few different settings. This icon here with the arrow, this is going to let me rotate that image by 90 degrees at a time. So if I tap it once, that has created this portrait, this vertical version of the video that I rather liked. The only change I would make is that the head, well, I'm calling it the head anyway, is at the bottom of the image. So I'm going to tap it twice more, and that is now at the top. That's much more how I want it to be. I'm going to tap on Saved Copy. And now let's have a look at the finished article. That is really nice. And what I like about this is that my caterpillar is at the centre of the frame, that it's now been brought to life by that gentle breeze that I've used the card to create. It looks as though it's breathing, or if it's, you know, being blown around by a gentle breeze. It's also a really clean image. I like the white effect of the table, and I think that the flash, or the light from the flash on the camera, has also introduced just a few more highlights on there as well. Yeah, I really like this image.